Hi everyone. Don't know if there's anyone actually. Oh, hey, hey, first people watching. I'm waiting for Javi to join in and have a little chat about life. Oh, here's Javi. Yo, Javi, my man. Hey, person from Tel Aviv. How are you? Yo,
How are you, Maxim?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm very good.
Good to see you. Love
Good to
the
see you too.
mustache. Hope is begging me to grow mustache just because why not? And I'm declining for now, but I might have to at some point.
You look
There's
nice with
a
that mustache too.
yeah, there's a firework going on behind us, but it should go away. How are you?
I'm good, I'm good. Like being at home
Yeah.
for a month already, but everything is good.
Uh-huh. Okay, okay. Just give me 1 second. For whatever reason, it's the headphones are not
Okay.
working. Just one. Okay, I'm back. Oh, so you've been home for, so you are in Barcelona,
Yeah.
for those who don't know. Um, and just gonna do a little just introduction speech. But so you've been working with us for 4 years now, on and off,
No,
maybe
more.
more. Yeah, yeah, it's
Like
been a long time, man.
7 years, probably.
Oh fuck, man, let time just goes,
Six,
doesn't
seven
it?
years already. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
When since you
crazy.
start there in this place.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, yeah, so 7 years. Just also just a little, speech thing. Not speech, but like little thing for the people watching. Um, so if there's any questions, so the other days, I've already done a few conversations, and it always goes really well, and it's always super fun. Uh, but what happens is that then it sort of becomes super long, and we ended up,
Yeah.
talking like, an hour and a half, and we could have keep going. So for this one, if we manage to start, I would suggest to break it down in 2 sessions.
Cool.
And maybe we can just do, a casual chat for the first one, and we can do more like question and Q&A, questions and answers a second time. Another thing as well, I'm going to be downloading and posting the videos around and on the shop Instagram and on my YouTube anyway. So that's one thing for people who can't stay until the end. And if there's questions, I would suggest that everyone uses, there's a little box next to the comment. There's a little question mark sign just next to the comment section. So use that instead of posting questions in the comments, because those we can't just necessarily be reading all the time. So yeah, so also a small introduction for if people uh watched the other ones. I assume that a lot of people watching now know Javi, but hopefully later people will also watch who might not know. Um, Hi everyone, just saying hi to everyone. Says hi to
Hi.
um. So Javi is probably the OG of the team, all the teams together. I would say Javi is probably one of the OGs. No, not only because in many ways, not only because he's been tattooing for the longest of us all, but also I mean, you know, for whatever it's worth, I'm gonna say that Javi has been a big inspiration and support of of a lot of Semble related stuff, even from
Thank you so much.
way back. Yeah, I mean, and way back from when Semble was just a magazine, and I remember going to Barcelona and starting to meet people, and I met Javi early on with at LTW and with the team there. And not only I was, obviously blown away by Javi's work, but obviously we hit it off, and he always showed unconditional support to the magazine and everything, and that meant a lot for me, especially at a time when I didn't really know what I was doing, and I was just trying to do something and whatever. So I think I'm going to start with that, and it's an honor to have you,
Thank you so
working with
much,
us now.
Javi.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
So, of course. And so I think, maybe we can just start with the current situation and what do you do, like what's every day now, like what has it been in the past month or so on confinement.
Well, I'm trying to have a routine every day, but it's quite difficult sometimes because it's like repeating the same things every day.
Hmm.
And sometimes you lose your routine, but I'm trying to just like waking up early and do a little exercise and then start painting. Right now I'm doing like a bigger paintings than before, that the one I was doing before, like the small ones for the flashes, for the book of the things.
Hmm.
So now I'm preparing more like big paintings for just for fun because
Nice.
I want to have my mind busy.
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
it's, as I said, it's difficult sometimes. But just is what I'm doing all day, like painting, and then when I finish, just watching a little TV and then going to bed.
Nice. Are you alone in your apartment, or do
No,
you
no, no, no.
you're with your girlfriend?
Yeah,
What's her name again?
Emelina.
Melina. Nice. And how is it already crazy hot, or is it bearable? The weather, is it bearable at the moment?
Uh, Depends day.
No.
Depends. It's
All
not
right.
always fun.
Yeah. Yeah, so I mean, obviously, if anyone's watching who doesn't know Javi, you have to go check out his work. He's, obviously, if you follow him, you'll realize that he has one of the most impressive output and production of things and designs, and he's been able to keep evolving. How long have you been tattooing for now?
20 years.
At this point?
20 years
That's so
now.
that's amazing. Um, yeah, so I mean, yeah, do you know what? Actually, I was thinking today, I believe we did an interview or something with you for one of I'm not 100% sure. I think we did something for Semble magazine back in the day at some
We did
point.
like for the first number when it was the one that
Yeah,
was like the longest one, it was like a pen
yeah,
newspaper. We did like
yeah, yeah,
a small interview from the shop and everything.
yeah, 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 yeah. And didn't we do something about LTW for issue 2 as well? There was that. Do you remember
I think
that?
so, yeah.
Do you remember
Yeah,
that
it was for
guy?
the
Do you
17.
remember Alexis, the photographer?
Yeah, it
Yeah,
was for the number
that
one, I think. That's one. For the
maybe.
number one. It was for the
I,
number
I,
one when it looks like more like a newspaper. It was like a longer one.
yeah, 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 yeah.
It was for this
I'll look
one.
at. I'll dig it out and put some photos. I have some archives at the house actually. Um, but yeah. So where was I saying this? Yeah. So anyway, it'd be nice to hear a bit about your, how you got into that whole tattoo thing, man. I mean, I think for me also, one thing that meant a lot when I met you, and the whole LTW thing, I guess, we were talking about 15 years ago or something, so it was quite a while ago. But the fact that there was a sneaker shop as well, there was a lot of things that sort of that I was identifying, that I could identify with more so than I did with the more like back then, you know, you had a little bit of that, a little bit of the sort of straight edge, a bit more like, you know, urban, whatever, like subcultural kind of thing. And then you had the sort of rockabilly, uh, you know, kind of very sort of rock and roll and kind of influence in tattooing 15 years ago. Now it's sort of, you know, it's much more, it's much smaller in proportion in
More open
relation
now.
to the,
Yeah.
yeah, but back then it meant a lot to me to meet, to be, to see this, yeah, this place and this group of people who had something that I could identify with more on a personal level. Not that I didn't like the other stuff, but it was just wasn't my culture. So anyway, Abby, yeah, can you just, you know, tell how you got into tattooing and how you ended up at LTW in Barcelona?
Well, I started tattooing in Madrid.
Yeah,
I
yeah, yeah.
started tattooing for a guy called Mao. It was the at that time it was the oldest
Who makes
shop open
machines?
in Madrid. Yeah, Mao and
Yeah,
Cafe was the name of the shop.
yeah.
And yeah, I was tattooing there for like 3 years,
Hmm.
and then I had the opportunity to move to Barcelona. It was the place where mm, probably like my two favorite tattoos from Spain. They were working there before. It was when it was Tomás Garcia,
Yeah, yeah,
and the other guy was Keiko.
yeah,
Both moved at the same time. I moved to live in Barcelona.
yeah.
Keiko is living in Madrid right now, and Tomás is working in the United States for like
Oh, is he? Where is he?
them. Yeah, he's working in a place called Old Soul Tattoo.
Oh,
It's
also,
in
you rather right.
Old
Yeah,
Soul
that rings a
Tattoo,
bell.
yeah. And yeah, he's coming like once in a year, always to work in LTW, so we see each other once in a year.
Nice.
So yeah, I decided just to move because I had an idea to move to work on a place where these two guys worked before, and yeah, I've been there since then. Since like I moved I moved to Barcelona like 15 years ago, I think.
Amazing. And how
And since
different
then I'm working.
was
Tell me.
how different was life in Barcelona versus Madrid?
Well, I think it's more kind of bad what I'm gonna say right now because Madrid is my city, but I think Barcelona is more European, so it's more
Hmm.
open. Like a lot of people come like during the year just like for spending a week or something there, and then they get tattoos. So I think it's like it's more open than Madrid right now.
Hmm. Hmm.
I think so. It's
And
better
was life very
for.
different for you?
Oh yeah, much different. Madrid is like a busy. It's a busy city. It's like everything is super fast there, and people are doing everything super fast. So,
Yeah, yeah.
and Barcelona is more quiet.
Okay,
It's
interesting.
for me. It's not like a for me. It's not like a big city. It's more like a big village. More for me. You know, you can walk everywhere. You can. The
Right.
weather is nice always. It's pretty nice. I like it. I like it
Nice.
here.
And so, how long were you? So, did you apprentice with Mao?
Yeah, I apprenticed there. Yeah,
Nice. Are you still
I
in
was
touch with
there for
Mao?
like 3 years. Yeah, like every now and then we send message to them and to each other, and it's cool.
How
We
is
stay
he
in
doing?
contact. He's doing good. He's doing good. It's just working with the machines the whole time, and sometimes
Uh-huh.
conventions. He's not doing that much lately,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
he's good. He's good.
I met him. Sorry, I'm just making a mess. I'm just trying to set up. I haven't
Um,
I haven't done that many of those lives, and it's kind of just trying to figure like a setup that sort of works and where, you know, that's. Oh yeah, I think that could be it. Um, I'm just trying to have some light as well on my face. Um, Cool. And so how did you get into tattooing? I mean, what made you want to tattoo? I mean, it's kind of kind of
Well, I think it was, like semi, sometimes like like everyone, like we see people with tattoos and you just want to have them on YouTube. And then, I don't know, for me, it was more like I've seen all of those guys in punk bands when I was a kid with lots of tattoos. And I was like, wow, I want to be like them. I want to have a lot of tattoos on my body. And then
mhm.
just start collecting when I was a kid. And then I realized that I can learn something and I can learn
When
that.
you were a kid, how old were
Well,
you?
I was like, when I was like listening more funk music, it was like 14, 15 years.
Hmm.
And since then, I'm always like super in love with this. Like, I remember that I had one of these Easy Riders magazines with a
Right,
Cliff
right, right.
Raven interview and people from San Francisco like doing this like big, massive color tattoos and motorcycle gang tattoos. And I was like, I wanna be like them. I wanna have them.
Nice, nice. And
That one, it was
so
like
how?
almost 30 years ago. So imagine.
Yeah, of course, of course. I mean, but I mean, I totally understand because that's actually around the same time. I mean, we were probably around the same age, you and me. So even though I started tattooing much later, but that's around the time that I got interested in tattooing in the first place. So I actually
Hmm.
it's funny because I really fell in love like or started feeling that I had something to do with tattooing at some point in my life in my late teens, and I'm 78, so that would be like the late 90s actually. That's when I seriously got into tattooing, so I totally understand. I mean, I remember seeing Guy Aitchison, and there were just like a few magazines, shout out to Mickey Vialetto because he was,
Or Aaron
there was
Kane at that time, like all of those interviews with those guys from like late 90s. It was like this big explosion in San Francisco style with Scott Sylvia, Jeff Whitehead,
yeah, yeah,
or Tattoo City, Black Heart Open.
yeah, yeah,
Crazy,
Tim
crazy time for
Lehigh. I mean,
tattooing. Grimy.
yeah, yeah, absolutely, of course. And so I totally understand because even though I got into tattooing, like I started tattooing much later, but I still have a lot of that in my mind as well, and as my references, or at least something I relate to in a strong way.
Mm.
But how did you? So from that, how did you start constituting your style? Because one thing that I always felt like that always made me feel really compelled to your work was that you always had your style. And I remember seeing on the wall in the waiting room at LTW, I remember your flash on the wall, and there were all these roses, amazing roses, some swans or whatever, the old flash of yours. And I remember that was like that's always the ones I was because at that time I'd just come hang out, like hope to say hi to a couple people. I was just being really feeling very intimidated there. And yeah, so how did you so when you started when you started tattooing, had you always been drawing, or did you sort of define your style when you started tattooing or learning?
Well, for me, it was more like I, I think I'm just tattooing because I like this style since the beginning. I'm always been like crazy with this style. I always like traditional. I like other styles, and I like to see other people
Hmm.
doing different things. But since the beginning, I always like watching this, like how people can make this
But
and
did you do a lot of retracing Flash, or did you from the beginning always drew, like look at something but drew your own thing?
I'm always trying to do my own thing. I'm always trying to do my own thing because when I start, it was very difficult to find any books or references or whatever. The only thing you can see is when you're going through internet and you're starting to just like Google Tattoo City and you see the tattoos from Whitehead or Dalton or Team Lehigh at that time when they've been working with Ed Hardy. And it was the only thing you can see. So try to copy them is very obvious at that time. Like you see, like you copy them. So I'm just trying to always find my own style in this.
Did you draw before? Did you do illustration or anything before?
Not really. Cool. I'm always I'm doing this because I just want to be a tattooer.
Nice.
That's it. Because I remember that one time I went to, I was a kid and I was skating and listening funk music always. So I remember, this Thrasher magazine. I always remember that thing because for me it was like, I was in shock when I saw this. Like at the end of this magazines, it was always like pictures of and comments from skaters, and it was an old picture of like a young Jeff Whitehead, and I was like, wow, look at this guy. He's wearing like really nice tattoos. It was like a funny picture of him. Someone say like, my name is Jeff, and inside is like, I'm so afraid to damage my tattoo, so I'm not skating anymore. Someone write this. I always remember this because I took this picture and I put it on my wall when I was a kid. It was like I was like 15 years, something like that. So I was like, I want to be like this. And I remember the first time I went to San Francisco. I went to visit Scott Campbell. He used to work in a picture machine.
Oh, amazing! I didn't even remember that.
Yeah, he started there. I think he started in another place, but then he moved to picture machine in San Francisco. So I remember the first time I went to Tattoo City, and then I met White, and I was like, fuck, is this guy? Is guy? Is the guy from the magazine from when I was a kid? So I was like, and I'm always like looking at them, what they're doing. And I think I learned from them and from, Scott Sylvia or Juan Puente or like they always trying to do traditional, but in their own way, like trying to make their own style. And I think I learned from them this, like you need to draw, you need to find your own way to do a heart or a rose or a swan or whatever.
Interesting.
So yeah, I'm always like trying to redraw everything.
Yeah. In Spain, growing up, did you see tattoos around you? And if so, what kind of people had tattoos around you when you were a kid?
When I was a kid, mostly of them they were punks or skinheads or heavies or not like normal people like now. Like everyone have tattoos right now, so it's very easy to see people with like lots of them, even face tattoos right now. But before, nothing, no one.
Yeah.
So
and so what kind of style did they have? Because I remember being a kid. There weren't that many people who had tattoos out, and I always loved seeing anyone and a tattoo on anyone. I thought it was amazing. And I mean, I almost never saw traditionals really. I saw kind of a lot of sort of more like biker stuff kind of things.
Or more realistic stuff like Robert Hernandez. It was big at that time. I don't know if you remember.
Yeah, of course. Well, I remember him. I remember, but that's not really what people had. Where at least where I'm from, they had, they had the biker stuff, a couple, prison tattoos here and there. A couple of people maybe had some small like traditional flash, but not a lot of traditional like sailor kind of stuff when I was when I was a child, and then later I saw, saw more of that. So I was always intrigued because, and especially the other day, I was talking to Davide, and sort of how strong traditional, or like I would call it neo-traditional, not in the style of neo-traditional, but traditional today, not like anyway. And how for me, Spain and Italy always had amazing traditional. Um, and I always wondered if people, tattooists, saw that, if it existed historically in Spain and in Italy, maybe because of the ports, the sailors or whatever, or if it just came from the American cultural influence, and it just so happened that people just took that and sort of ran with it. So that's not really a style you saw around you as a kid.
No, not really. No, when I was a kid,
Interesting.
like all of those punks, they were like having like more like spider webs or
Hmm.
skulls or exploited symbols or things like that.
Yeah, yeah,
It's more like black and gray or
totally.
a little bit like not really good tattoos
Yeah.
or just people trying to copy because it was the 90s. It's just in the 90s in Spain, the biggest guy was Robert Hernandez. It was like
Hmm.
an explosion. Like everyone wants to do like this kind of like a black and gray tattoos. Or also, you remember Riton, the guy from France?
No, I
He was
don't.
very.
No, not
This
sure.
guy, what? This guy, it, he he did like so many tattoos in Spain,
Hmm.
like always in black and gray, and it's like biomechanical stuff or portraits or things like that, or animals or things like that, or tribals like Lobo. You remember Lobo
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
in the
yeah, yeah.
90s? Yeah. So it was the kind of tattoos you see in Spain at that time, but late 90s, early 2000, Tomás García and Keiko are starting something different in Barcelona,
Hmm. Hmm.
and they start like building like a new thing with traditional. And I think it was the first guys, the first two guys that start doing traditional in Spain. I think everything started in early 2000
Okay,
in
okay.
Spain about.
That's very interesting, and it's especially interesting because Thomas Garcia also happens to have been a very influential graffiti writer.
Yes,
And that I only realized like maybe 5 years ago, like that I knew his graffiti stuff and his tattoo stuff separately. And then I once someone was like, "Oh, do you know Thomas is that?" No, blah blah blah. And I was like, "What? Is that the same guy?" And I
it's
always
the same
thought
guy. Yes,
Thomas, yeah, and I always thought Thomas was amazing tattooist.
was my
But
biggest
also he was,
influence.
yeah,
For
and
me,
he
was my
was.
biggest influence. Like I learned a lot from him.
Mhm.
He helped me a lot in the beginning because I met him in before I started tattooing. I met him and he saw my drawings. He said like, "I give you my flash, you give me your flash, and we keep in contact."
Hmm.
And
That's sick.
since
I love
then,
that. I mean,
we've been friends.
yeah. I mean, I spent as a graffiti writer myself in the 90s and 2000s. I remember like looking at his stuff and be like, I mean, the whole Barcelona scene had something amazing going on. There were a couple of other people there, and it was a kind of that early 2000s era when when sort of a certain page in graffiti was turned from the sort of Swiss and German days and Italy a little bit, and then all of a sudden it was all about France and Scandinavia and and Spain, and NUP was like blowing my mind, and everyone was sort of doing that, and then I think that definitely in terms of of updating what tattooing was, like culturally, like way beyond just, the designs, but like what tattooing is as a culture. I think that Barcelona had a really pivotal um, role in the early and mid 2000s. I think, and I really think that LTW had as well, because you know a lot of people who know LTW today might not realize that it truly was, in the same way that a shop like New York Adorned in New York, like that shop at a certain moment and for a period of time, for a long period of time, like because of the vision of the person who put it together, like brought the best artists in the world in the same under the same roof,
Yeah.
and became that hub for a decade at least. And it's still extremely, it's still an amazing shop, but now it's established, and obviously it's a mature shop. But when it opened and it had this sort of thing and something in the yeah, I would say the early to mid 2000s was so crucial in that sort of shift in the tattoo culture, and anything we see today for me is just the extension of that. And for me, yeah, that's the Semble magazine days as well. There was something magical was happening at that time. um and anyway, just like, but yeah, so that's incredible. That's very, very, very interesting to hear, man. And how one thing that I yeah, so you said you come from, you always listen to punk music.
Exactly.
What else? I mean, I know you for being a sneakerhead as well. You love watches as well. You're one of the first people I saw wearing some really amazing watches.
And you for me.
Yeah. And so there was Chad Kiplinger, yourself, in the tattoo world, and there was that. Yeah. So what are the different things that inspire you outside of tattooing, and what are the things that you like?
Well, as you said, there's only three things I really like the most, and it's like tattoos, watches, and sneakers. It's the
Right.
only things I'm always looking at. I'm not
Nice.
really interested in other things. I'm just
But you
like when I'm
cycle as
not
well.
working. Huh?
You cycle a lot as well, yeah?
I used to, yeah. I
Right.
used to, but not anymore. Not anymore. I pray for my hands.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's the only things, when I'm not like looking for drawings or tattooing or paintings. Also, I'm looking for painters to go with. Um, I'm just like watching like different watches or new sneakers they gonna come out, or it's always the
Nice,
same. Easy.
nice. And what inspires you? How do you keep yourself driven and inspired? Because a lot of people that I know who've been tattooing for 20 years do definitely not keep the same amount of, like that sort of focus that you have, and the ability to keep evolving in your style. I mean, that is amazing. I'm feeling like sometimes I'm feeling, I mean, fortunately, I always find a way to try something new. But like sometimes I feel tapped out after 10 years. Like, how do you keep this sort of, freshness after 20 years of tattooing?
And I think it's because I'm feeling like I have the same feeling as the first day when I start, and it's easy. I'm just want to do that. That's the only thing I always think is I just want to do this. I, sometimes I'm thinking about like, oh, I want to paint more. I want to stop tattooing and do more. But at the end of the day, is what I want to do. I just want to do tattoos, drawing tattoos, painting. It's easy. I'm feel the same as the first day when I start or when I fall in love with this.
That's
But
amazing.
it's for me it's the same. I'm not feeling tired or betrayed. Are so many tattooers they feel like, well, I'm spending so much time tattooing, or I'm spending so much time drawing, and I don't have. as many clients as I thought or whatever. But for me, it's the same always. I'm so happy every time.
That's
I don't
amazing.
feel tired. And I can tell you what inspired me because it's not about inspiration. It's because I'm in love with this. It's my life.
Nice. And how, so do you think sometimes, I mean man, I have to say it's so refreshing. It's so, I mean, I feel like that too, but I mean, and I don't necessarily, I'm not necessarily as focused as you in the same, I have to keep doing other stuff as well, but like, there's only very few things that you know, like every time I tattoo, every time I go back to the shop, every time I'm like, this is the thing that makes me happy. And there's a couple of other things as well, my family and a few like specific things, but I think creatively tattooing brings so much together in a way that I cannot find anywhere else. So yeah, it's very nice to hear, that's for sure.
It's like when you're traveling and you see people you love, like you got, it's something amazing. Like when I'm going to London and I see you guys, it's family. I'm going to work in Smith Street, it's family. And when I was working in Japan, family also, or New York Adorn, it's like, you know, I'm I'm so happy. It's impossible. Like I never thought in my whole life like I'm gonna have like that many friends and that big opportunity to work in the different places and feeling the same everywhere I go. It's
Totally.
so good.
Totally. And I have to say that um your also your loyalty and how I think, for the better or the worse, there's obviously a lot of opportunism going on in the tattoo world, which is normal, is whatever. But I think that as far as I'm concerned, I never got into it for, anything else than because I loved it and because I had to do it. And same even with my shops, same for everything I do. Not no, not everything, but tattooing in particular. And I have to say that, like for me, early on, being endorsed by people like yourself, and there aren't that many people. There's Thomas Hooper and a couple of other people who really sort of showed support. Alex Beanie, who showed support for Ensemble magazine, and then myself, and that is how I found the motivation and that sort of energy in me to get into something that was scary, was and even today. I mean, I think what you're saying and what I find really, really amazing, and what I want to stress on with what you're saying is, these sort of how these relationships last for so long, and that's what I like personally. If you're my friend, if I'm your friend, I'll be your friend forever. I mean, you can decide to not talk to me anymore, but I will, um, and I'm like that too. And I think it's really amazing because you do have this kind of thing um, with Smith Street, with a couple of other places, and this is for me, that's is really a model that I always wanted to follow, or that I want to remind myself of your vision to sort of keep going as an artist myself, not as a shop owner, not but as a tattoo artist. This is really refreshing and motivating. So as you know places like New York really well, etc. Um, what do you like in those different places? Like how different is each location that you tend to go to on a regular basis?
Well, uh, I don't know. I think clients are more or less the same everywhere. Like it's just
Okay.
clients, they just want to see you and have something from you. So I think everywhere I go, all my clients are like the same, like super good. Like they want the same. It's so good. I think it's more like the difference or the way you guys work
Hmm.
from Spain, for example. In Spain, we work in a room. We can't work everyone
Yes,
together as you
for
guys
legal
in
reasons.
London. Yeah. Or you guys in London, we work in the same room or in Smith Street. You've been there. It's like the shop is the same. It's like a family shop, you know.
Hmm.
So it's I think it's more like the way you work, you know. Like for me, it's I'm one of those guys, like I want to talk every time I'm working. I'm talking with my clients every time. And when I'm not talking with my clients, if I have opportunity, I always talk with my partners. Like when
Hmm.
I'm in San Blue, I'm always like speaking in Spanish, you know that, with
Yeah, yeah,
Mike
yeah.
or with Danny. But uh, difference are not that many right now.
Okay.
I think everywhere is more or less the same. Like you guys have the same. For me, you guys in London have the same motivations that the guys in New York. So you really want to do a nice tattoo. You want to have a good day. Clients are good every in both places. Even so, I think it's more or less the same in this thing. But
Okay.
for me, it's more like the way we work in Barcelona is different
Hmm.
as, or in Spain is different as the way you guys work in other
So
places.
the setup that you saying,
Yeah,
like the right, yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah, for sure. I mean, Spain has an extremely constraining laws
yeah,
and regulations
yeah,
that it is intense, and London and New York have in common to be. I mean, Barcelona is fairly dense, but I have to say, in comparison to LA, for example, where there's a lot of space physically, you know, people don't, like as much as I would love to give, for everyone at the studio in London to have a ton of room, but it's just not possible. I mean, if you want to be able to pay rent and pay the staff, like, you need a certain amount of people in the room in London, and it makes a very, and it's the charm. I mean, if you go to the London shops, they're all really, really dense, except for a few private places, but most of them are super dense. Like, even you go to every shop in London. I remember working at IntoU, like people just like touching the beds,
I
like,
know. I remember
and
that. I
and
got
and it's
tattoos there.
yeah, and day after day, it can get a bit. Why? There's days you don't wanna you wanna just go there early because you want a couple of hours without people shouting and like without 6, 7 tattoo machines going like non-stop. But like it has a certain energy, it has a certain charm. But at the same time, I love to go to LA or Zurich, to the Zurich shops. I mean the Sembleur shops, but like and get more space or get a but
Yeah,
different and New York had that sort of dense intensity, but it's a bit, there's different vibes. And yeah, like, so no, I definitely see what you're saying, and I love this sort of universal, which, how you're saying that clients at the end of the day tend to be the same. Obviously, there's slight differences, or at least in my opinion, but there's something universal about the experience of tattooing that I find, which is one thing that I find absolutely magical. It's a kind of universal language, and that's something that I find really beautiful with it. But and how, I mean, one thing that I like to ask, because I'm this is one thing that I'm kind of always obsessed with, but like, how, for yourself, having been around tattooing and involved in tattooing for so long, but being also so still extremely present today, and there's a good chance you'll still be tattooing for another 20 years. Um, and how do you see tattooing evolve, and what do you think is going to happen, and what do you hope is going to happen? Like, I mean, what are your hopes, and what is likely in your opinion?
well, it's way much different than before when I started. As I told you, like before, it was very difficult to find anything or tattoo equipment or needles. You need to do your own needles, everything. I think right now it's much easier to be a tattooer, but at the same time, it's more difficult to be successful or because it's easy, I think.
Yeah.
And I hope I just can continue being as today, like busy and happy with the same energy. And the way I see how it's gonna be in the future, well, it's a hard question, actually.
Oh man,
I don't.
it's just like that, you know.
No, I know, but I don't know. I don't know. I'm seeing like right now, like tattoo world is so open. So I can see like right now it's not like before. Like if you're a tattooer, you just a tattooer. You just make tattoos. You just like do tattoos, like preparing things for tattoos. Right now, you can work for companies. You can do whatever you want because they don't treat us like before.
Hmm.
So I think it's gonna be more open. It's gonna be much better. Like you will see more people like working for fashion or working for magazines or doing more exhibitions for sure.
Hmm.
Like more like an artist
Yeah.
probably. So I
Have
think
you
it's gonna be
done
much better in the future for sure.
nice? Um, so there's a yeah. So one thing I wanted to ask you as well is that interestingly enough, um, there's some tattooists who are just known for tattooing celebrities and being like very um and but in fact you've tattooed some really a lot of high profile people and but people don't necessarily know that about you, which I find awesome because you're not trying to wave the flag with that and I find it's all in your honor to to be like, yeah, I mean, and so you tattooed Action Bronson and some really you have all the Barcelona football players coming to you as well, and I'm sure there's many more. How do you, if you don't mind, me asking, but like, how is that something like how for you? Do you make any difference between dealing with a very famous person or regular client?
Well, for me, it's the same actually. I treat it in the same way. Like the only thing is like sometimes, like for example, Action Bronson, I tattoo him in Smith Street, but I tattoo
Yeah,
other
yeah.
people that I have to go to their houses because it's
Hmm.
impossible to have them at the shop.
Right.
So it's a special treatment for them.
Yeah, yeah.
But it's quite nice. I'm very into football, for example, so I tattoo a few guys from a few football players. So for me, it was nice to see them and talk about football also. And so yeah,
Very
I
cool.
think it was like a special treatment in that way. Like I have to go to their houses, but it was good for me too. It was like meet like people that I like from well, for what they do,
Yeah, yeah.
even if it's not my football team, So,
Totally.
but yeah.
Um, and then you mentioned earlier about people, more tattooists doing sort of crossing over to doing fashion or whatever. Um, do you have you done collaborations or have you worked with projects like brands or whatever outside of the tattoo world? And what kind of collabs would you like to do if you're interested?
I did two collaborations actually with brands. I did one with Diesel
Hmm.
and I did one with Moët Chandon for like an anniversary thing.
Hmm.
A few other brands like I did one T-shirt for the hundreds, um, and a couple more. But yeah, well, I would love to do more collaborations for sure with different brands, but I don't know. Sometimes I'm thinking about like what I should do with what kind of brands can be interested
Hmm.
in what I'm doing, and I don't know. I can't imagine Prada with my drawings, for example. So I don't know. I would love
I
to,
think
but I don't
I think
know.
you'd be surprised. I
I
think
don't
you'd be
know. Who
surprised.
knows?
Hmm.
If someone from Prada is listening to this,
I'll try to hook something up. Um, and yeah, I mean, I think I agree. I think that's definitely the way it's going, and I think that if people are interested, I think that you know, I think a lot of things that are will happen in the future. So I think we can we can hope that things like a Javi and Prada collab is
also
actually
it's because
possible.
thank God tattooing is not anymore what it was in the past. You know, like
Of course.
it was like a very like like a small world. You know, it was very
Hmm.
difficult to be inside that. You know that too because you know a lot of people from the past like they don't want to be with someone else that are not like whatever. But right now it's more open, so it's more easy to see people like us collaborating with brands or so I think in the future it's gonna be like super good for tattoo or
Nice,
tattoo scene.
nice.
So.
Um, cool, man. I know. Yeah. So we were talking about sneakers earlier. Have you gotten anything interesting recently?
Well, the last one's the Sakai, the old black Sakai, but there's not too
Nice.
many lately. I'm waiting for the Alpha Flies, but they're not come out, so I'm thinking about to buy it on a resale, but that's so
All right.
expensive. But
Nice.
you know, these Nikes are, you know, I got
Yeah.
this symbol from Nike there.
Oh, fucking hell. Yeah, man.
It's
Yeah.
it's from the designer from Nike, Mark Miner.
Mm-hmm.
He did it for me. So, you know,
Sick.
I'm very into Nike.
Wow, that's
It's very bad
amazing.
tattoo, but you can
That's
see it's
sick,
not
man.
even inside, but
Yeah, yeah. Nice. That's cool. I would say that was really nice, man. Um, I think we've covered a lot of things that I was personally interested in talking about. Um, if you did you have anything else that you wanted to talk about?
well, you know, as I told you before we start this, I'm very nervous because it's the first time.
Oh
But
yeah.
so no, whatever you want to talk, I'm very open.
All right. No, I mean, I think you did fantastic. Um, it's kind of awkward for me as well anyway, but it's nice to see you. At least we know each
It's nice
other
to see
really
you
well
too.
anyway.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, but do you know what? Let's do a second part, maybe with
Yes.
a sort of question and answer kind of thing.
Yeah.
We can take we'll just schedule another little moment, and then what we do is we can take questions from people. People can ask questions, and we do a Q and
Perfect.
A, and sort
Yeah.
of free ball from there. I think that'd be fun. Um, so yeah, so I think it was awesome to talk, and I think I mean I could talk for hours, especially because obviously I love to hear those stories, and I'm lucky to have an amazing team of younger people, etc. But like it's nice to talk to people, to some old dudes like me, who can talk about the 90s and the 2000s, like,
Yeah,
we actually
not
remember.
every not
Yeah,
everyone can talk about this too.
yeah, we were
But
like
yeah,
we were adults already, so But yeah, man, very good to see you, and
very
yeah,
you too,
let's
my friend.
yeah, of course. What are you up to tonight? Are you still going back to drawing
Watching
or?
more movies. No, I just finished this one. I
Nice.
finished yesterday night this one.
Oh, wow, sick. Is that watercolor?
It's
What?
watercolor, yeah.
Wow, bro, you're insane, man. That's amazing.
So I'm so tired. I don't wanna say anything more today, so I just wanna
No, fair
relax.
enough. Fair enough.
I just wanna relax a little.
I've been watching this super like cheesy show, $1 Million Listing, which is like a kind of reality TV thing of real estate brokers in New York.
Oh
It's
yeah?
so cheesy. It's like it's
Now is it
mesmerizing.
Netflix or something?
Say that again.
Is it Netflix?
It's not on Netflix. It's on Amazon,
Oh cool.
Amazon
Oh, I
Prime.
can watch this too.
It Man, it's like you feel your IQ just like dropping it's probably like smoking crack. It's like every time you watch an episode, you feel that you're more stupid at the end. But it's but you had a good time, just like crack. So anyway,
I tried to watch.
I don't smoke crack, but for the
Not
people who
me.
don't know, but but that's I've been told. So yeah. Anyway, good to see you, man. Have a good night,
Good to see you, my
and
friend. See you
yeah,
next
let's
week.
talk and do the Q&A soon.
Okay.
All right, love you, brother. Bye,
Love you.
bye,
Bye.
man. Bye, man.